Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and this is sort of shortly after Christmas, a few days after, and I really cleaned up this year, so high tech and high dollar both. So I got to thinking, well, I'll show you one thing I got for Christmas. Now my granddaughter, she came over here. She said, now you've got to open these packages in this order. So I opened the first package, and I looked down in there and I said, hey, that's a drone. And sure enough, there was, I got that upside down, there was a DJI Spark. She felt like I needed that. I guess I thought back on it for some time before, and somehow drones had come up in the conversation, and I said, well, I think DJI makes probably the best ones, or one of the companies that makes the best ones. And so sure enough, next thing you know, I got one of these. And of course in the next package there's a remote control and this and that. And there's a lot to drones that that people might not think about, but not everybody likes them apparently, because there's a lot of regulation, especially government excuse me, government regulation. Around the first of the year, a judge told the FAA they couldn't meddle with people's, private drones, individuals. So they were out of the drone business up until about December the 17th of this year, and now they've went to Congress and got permission to regulate drones again. And if you got a little drone that weighs more than 0.55 pounds, you're in that group. Well, that Spark is 0.66 pounds. I guess it's just a little bit over the limit there, so I had to register it with the FAA. It cost me $5. Now there's another little thing. Whatever you're going to look up manuals for, or register, or whatever, there are sites out there that try to look a lot like the real thing. And when I went to register this thing, the first one I clicked on turned out not to be the FAA. It was some other group. They wanted $25 for me to register it as a regular consumer, and $30 or $35 something for me to register it as a commercial. And I thought, well, wait a minute, all the stuff I've been reading about it, it's only supposed to be $5. So I started looking at the URL there, and I realized, well, this is not a government website. And so I back out, go to the real FAA, and it cost me $5 to register, So be on the lookout for that kind of thing. And the FAA at least gives you a little application which helps to make you apprehensive, because it shows you all the places that you can't fly. You see the yellow circles on there? Well, those yellow circles indicate the places where you can't, where you're within 5 miles of an airport. Around my place you have to go a long ways to get more than 5 miles from an airport. And that kind of intimidated me at first, and then I watched more videos and I found out, well, son of a gun, you can call the airport and tell the control tower that you're going to fly a drone, and where and how high and all that sort of thing. And if they don't have any objections, you're set, So anyway, on Christmas Day I went down more than 20 miles away from home and got into an area where the closest airport was just a dirt field, dirt runway, and they weren't home on Christmas Day, at the airfield. So anyway, I flew it for a few minutes. Now Chris B257 has the big brother of this. He's got the Mavic made by DJI, and he's also got lots of neat scenery, being on the East Coast where they have all the trail of leaves or whatever they call it. It's well known for the spectacular colors in the fall, and he flew his drone up and had spectacular colors of leaves, and even an old church there to fly over that looked really neat, and he made a really great video. So anyway, I went out, and not having flown it more than just here in this room a couple of times, and I took it up in the air and I flew it around some. But Texas isn't pretty in the wintertime, at least not down here. It's kind of gray, with the fir trees and stuff are green, and the rest of it's gray, and it's all wet and muddy looking, and not not a tourist attraction. But around the end of the video, I'll show you just a little bit of video that I took flying the drone around in a spot about 20 miles from here. And maybe when the current windy, cold, wet weather is over and the sun comes out, maybe I can go get some better looking videos somewhere, you know. But right now it's 42 degrees outside. The humidity's come down a lot. It's just 86%. Past 2 or 3 days it's been in the 90% and better. And it's been raining for, you know, all day for days. Not hard rain, just a little drizzle, you know. And you get maybe 2 or 3/10 of an inch on, you know, on a busy day. But anyway, I'm not going to do a review of this drone, because if you look on YouTube, there's probably about 1,000 reviews of the DJI Spark. And there's guys that like them and guys that hate them and guys that are indifferent to it, and you know, and there's guys that give you 10 tips for this and 10 tips for that. There's everything in the world that you could want to do. But one thing I haven't done with it yet is you can set the thing on the palm of your hand and it'll take off, and then you can control it by hand gestures. You know, if you wave your hand like that, it'll fly back away from you. It's always watching, you know, like a hawk, you know. But if you do, if you do a hand gesture like that, it's supposed to take a photograph of you. And if you, I think if you do your hands like that, it'll come back to you and land on your palm. I haven't tried any of that yet, but I will. I've mostly just flown it with a telephone for the controller when I was outside. And inside I've been using the little joystick controller, and that Daisy doesn't particularly like this thing. She was at the top of the stairs where she spends most of her time when she's not laying under my chair, and she was at the top of the stairs, and I set it out on the floor and got it cranked up, figured out how to get it to, you know, the motors to start, and I levitated it up about 4 foot. Daisy took one look at that and she was terrified. She tore down the stairs, ran to the bedroom just carrying on something awful for the boss lady to come out and protect her to protect her from the monster, and probably figured I was already eaten alive. She doesn't like it, but I do. Alright, so anyway, I don't know where to go from here, so I guess we'll just show you a little bit of video of me flying it around. And alright, I'm not doing a review, but I can tell you a little bit about it. And it's got a camera that floats around right here, and you can control the camera gimbal up and down from either a smartphone or from this controller. There's a little knob right, little wheel right there that controls it. You fold out the antennas however you want to, and you have to pair it up with the drone. And you take turns, either you pairing up your cell phone with the drone or you pair up the remote control. And if you use the phone, you can click it into here. My phone doesn't fit. Mine's an old small one that my phone won't work with it. It's too old. But the boss lady's phone works with it, and her phone's a great old big one that'll fit in there, and you can use it to see what the drone is seeing, so you'll know where you want to guide it to, you know, that sort of thing. And the first time I flew it, I didn't hardly look at the phone. More than a couple of times, because I was busy looking up in the air at the drone. To get the thing to light up, the battery's on the bottom here, a little bitty battery. I got 2 of them. Granddaughter made sure I was, you know, going to be charged up, and you give it a couple of shots like that, and it'll light up. You can see all the little. It's hard keeping it in the view here, and the lights will come on, and they blink out signals to you. This guy says he wants to be paired up with something. He's lost contact with the controller, and so there's quite a lot to learn about what the lights mean. The lights indicate the condition of what's going on, and maybe I'll fly it here in a minute, but for right now I'm just going to go ahead and shut it back down. There's a different, different procedure to pair it with a phone or to pair it with the controller. And I've been using the controller in here in this room, and it's pretty good. Like I say, I haven't used the hand gesture yet because I'm afraid it'll fly up and hit the ceiling or something. I guess it's a pretty tough little gadget because you know me and the stairs. I managed to get it to go out the door. It doesn't want to leave this room because it sees the doorway as being an obstacle, and it stops there, and then you have to force it on past it. Well, I flew it down the hall, and I was going to fly it down the stairs and such, and I got too close to the ceiling fan, and I was veered back over, and the next thing you know, bang, 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 the drone goes floating down the stairs, and the little doggy gate at the bottom, it runs into that, and that fell on top of it, and everything still works. So nothing's broken, so I guess it can take a little accident here and there. The thing's got it's got obstacle avoidance. It's this little section up here, sensors to see ahead so it can avoid running into something. It gets about, I don't know, 15, 16 feet from something, and it'll stop. There's little sensors on the bottom of it that it uses for landing, so it knows, it'll land by itself. You can on the phone you can push the home button and it'll come home. On here you got a home button and it'll come home. If it flies out and loses contact with the controller, it'll immediately in 2 seconds, 3 seconds. If you're on the remote here, I think it's a 3-second wait. It'll turn around and come back home and wait for you to land it. It'll hover there and wait for you to land it. If you're on the phone, it gives it about 20 seconds because the Wi-Fi signal comes and goes sometimes, I guess. So they wait longer with that. But if it loses the Wi-Fi signal, it'll turn around and come back home. They say the range on it's 1.2 miles. Well, I definitely didn't go more than, a couple of 100 yards away from me, much less a couple of miles, because I'm not, not used to it yet. But I've seen guys in the multitude of YouTube videos, they've got these little reflectors they can put on it, and they've run it out to, I guess, about 4 miles, one of them did. So it'll go a long ways away, and when it loses signal, it comes home. I think that's pretty neat. There's, other than the hand gestures and that, there's a GPS built into it, which helps it find its way home, of course, and it's got a compass. It knows which way is where. And you need to make sure that those are all oriented before you take off, that it's satisfied with the settings there. Again, the flying time's supposed to be about 16 minutes, but I think it's more like maybe 12 or 13. So with 2 batteries, I can fly about 20 minutes altogether, but maybe 5 or 6 minutes out, and when it gets down to about 30% battery, 20%, it's going to turn around and come home, whether I want it to or not. So that'll help you to keep from losing it. Although I did watch this one guy's video, he got one from a sponsor, and he flew it up in the air, and he flew it over this tall building, and it's the last he ever saw of it. So you can lose them. It's best to keep using. He was using a cell phone, and like I say, that's obviously not the best thing to use. They make a setup, when you hook your cell phone on here, you can put a cable in here and run it down to the phone, and then the phone is just your screen to see what's happening, and you can use the remote to control it, and that seems to work out pretty good. Alright, so I guess probably it's a good thing for me to set it down on the floor and just fly it one time, just so you guys see that it really does lift off the floor. Alright? Okay, to make the thing take off, you just pull to make the motor start, you pull the joysticks back like that, and he cranks up, and then you can tell him to come up off the ground here. Then we have to run the camera and the drone, which maybe a little bit much. Now it cinched the wall and it doesn't want to go that way any further. It seems like yesterday I ran it into the card on the fan there. I haven't untangled the card yet. It didn't dip down from turning, it dipped down from me making a mistake on the controller here. And it puts out a lot of air. You can feel a good wind way back here by the camera. Oops, sorry, didn't realize I'd gone too high. And it won't come here because it's sensed an obstacle. So it's kind of limited in where it will go. You see that it braked all by itself. Come back this way. And stop by itself because it doesn't want to run over an old geezer. And there you have it. I think the remote control here is the best way to control the little booger. And I guess it's time to go on to a little bit of video of me flying it over an ugly part of Texas. And speaking of government regulation on these things, the manufacturers support government regulation on them, which seems kind of perverse to me. They come out, they're going to charge you a pound of flesh and a bucket of blood for one of these things, and then they're going to help the government keep you from using it. Anybody that's ever paid any attention to the government knows that when they get involved in something, they start regulating it, they take all the fun out of it. And pretty soon it's just a cut and dried misery. Well, there you go. I don't understand the drone industry at all. I guess I'm just not sophisticated enough, redneck and all. I would certainly be against regulation. Anytime the government gets involved, it's just a big screw up, All right. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.